Back again in Slay the God, Part 10, Episode 13 to 15. A Donghua that tells the story of an ordinary high school disciple who undergoes a sudden transformation into a night watcher due to the appearance of a mysterious worldwide mist that triggers the awakening of gods. A long and dangerous journey begins, where the MC must face gods of great power for the safety of the world. Okay, for those of you who haven't watched the previous episode, please watch the previous episode first. The link is in the description. If you have watched, let's go straight to the storyline. A woman who was staring at the building where Lin Chi was fighting. She was feeling very impatient, because today Lin Chi would appear on stage with her. Before finding out who the white-haired lady is, we will return to the location where Lin Chi was urging Maso to reveal the location of the other Church of Ancient God members. Not answering the question, Maso with teary eyes dissolved in deep sadness because her parrot had now died in the middle of Lin Chi's journey. The parrot was a bird that had accompanied Maso long enough to consider it like family, and now she was like a madman who kept mentioning her favorite bird. Seeing the abnormal behavior of the opponent made Lin Chi think that it seemed like many people from the Church of Ancient God were abnormal. In the end, Maso chose to pour all her emotions into the ultimate Skyfire move. She promised to finish Lin Chi and send herself to the afterlife, just like the parrot. Releasing reddish energy into the air while raising one hand, Maso created a dimension. Along with that, she also used a shadow move to place her around Lin Chi while releasing bow attacks from various directions. Even so, Lin Chi was still able to dodge all the incoming arrows. He also flew towards the dimensional gap formed by the opponent. From within the rift came a large rain of arrows. In addition to dodging the rain of the opponent's attacks, in that situation Lin Chi also formed a protective barrier in the lower area to block the attacks aimed at his comrades. Seeing this incident, Maso was astonished by Lin Chi, who could negate her ultimate move. Even though in mental strength, Maso is still at a higher level when compared to MC. Well, that's true, but it's a shame that she faced MC at night. Nighttime is a situation where Lin Chi is in full power mode, considering he is endowed with the power of the goddess Nyx. The battle ended when Lin Chi knocked out his opponent with a blast of the darkest erosion skill to Masako's face. After the fight ended, Lin Chi, Taoyuan, and Tuming filled their stomachs at the noodle shop. They ordered noodles, shredded chicken, and eggs. At that time, Tuming explained that until now, he had received less than 1,000 assassination attempts, maybe 800. But don't worry, Tuming said, because now they just need to wait until the bodyguards come, and everything will be safe. Not long after, Shen Chengzhu arrived with his 3 brothers. He ordered 3 full packages of noodles for his brothers, while he himself only ordered plain noodles. Joining Lin Chi's table, Shen Chengzhu thanked the previous MC for saving the disciples during the evacuation incident. He thought that the vacation days given to all the disciples would definitely not be easy. Therefore, if Lin Chi needed help in the future, Chengzhu would definitely come immediately to do so. Without further ado, Lin Chi was willing to ask Chengzhu for help right now. Taoyuan, Tuming, and Chengzhu did not expect that the 3 of them would be taken to the Love Hotel by Lin Chi. Well, they weren't there to do anything. Lin Chi just wanted to ask Chengzhu to protect Taoyuan and Tuming for a while. Lin Chi wanted to leave first, with the excuse that he wanted to see his aunt's condition at home. But that was just a made-up excuse, because Lin Chi actually intended to fulfill the invitation given by the white-haired lady from the Church of Ancient God, who was waiting for him in the alley area.
Lin Chi.
We move on to a performance hall. Lin Chi here was asked to continue following the lady who led him into the building. Meanwhile, Lin Chi felt something was strange because previously, when interrogating Maso, he did not receive any information about the white-haired lady he was now following. Entering the building, which was quite dark, Lin Chi found that there were many life-sized wooden dolls around him. And it was a bit creepy as the dolls resembled the shapes of Tu Ming, Cao Yuan, and all of his close associates and relatives.
3碗清汤面加大盘，小玉的自杀没有1000也有800。
我们马上到。
又到极限了，
别分心，接下来行动七，由小燕去了。来。
The white-haired lady, let's call her the ballerina. She explained that tonight would be an action drama show, and Lin Chi was the main actor of the show. When the curtains opened, there were already many spectators, and they were all civilians who intended to watch the show that night. Apart from Lin Chi as the main actor who is required to defeat all the puppets that appear later, the initial plot of the drama will tell the story of a king who died due to age, and he will be replaced by a new king, but the replacement is a subordinate minister, because the king has no descendants who can inherit his position. And that's when the king's right-hand man introduced that there was a person who inherited the king's bloodline, the child who had disappeared, Lin Chi. Not letting Lin Chi ascend to the throne with an easy path, the minister also made a requirement where Lin Chi must be able to reach the royal capital, running from his village before dawn. Going into the first act, Lin Chi's original intention was just to confront the ballerina, but unknowingly, the ballerina directed Lin Chi into the plot of the ongoing drama show. The story is that Lin Chi, the lost king's bloodline, runs towards the royal capital, and along the way he is met by many puppets who act as the closest people to the main actor to say goodbye. In addition, there are also puppet bandits who try to stop his journey, and there are many more puppets that he must face.
你会死在成王的路上。
甚至没有亲人。
In fact, the ballerina, who was regarded as the one in complete control of the show, was also controlled by Gibbering, who hoped to bring Lin Chi into the abyss of darkness and destroy him from within. And we're about to get into the drama of the rivalry. When arriving around the city area, the protagonist came under attack from the royal knights. They were all knights sent by the minister, who was trying to prevent Lin Chi from reaching the capital before sunrise, and he managed to defeat them. In his mind, Lin Chi wondered why the puppet sent by the opponent was not that strong, making him wonder what the intentions of the white-haired lady who did such strange things to him were. Lin Chi, who was still trying to catch up with the ballerina, re-entered the plot of the drama, where the main actor, whose confidence was now getting stronger to become the new king, suddenly heard strange sounds of the price of becoming a king. He is sent to the land of the dead and is required to face former kings who have regrets for the leadership they have done in the past, such as committing tyranny, spreading hatred, despicable attitudes, and bringing the people to poverty. The last opponent of the main actor is against the Skull King, who has a larger body size than before. And after successfully defeating the Skull King of the former king formed from regret, now the main actor is considered worthy of being able to become a real king, while the drama performance enters the break time. Finally, after a long time of playing chase, Lin Chi was able to talk to the ballerina, who stopped running away. The opponent said that the climactic ending was just about to begin. And here, all she was doing was making Lin Chi play out a scenario summarized from countless real lives. Unleashing several attacks on the MC, she assumed that Lin Chi was a life form that acted like a prince chosen by fate. He started his path by joining the Night Watcher members, but in his opinion, Lin Chi is currently being shackled by something he can barely get rid of. Although he had great strength and was able to take down opponents who were trying to kill him, Lin Chi almost never actually killed his opponents, except for monsters, such as the three who attacked earlier. A shackle called compassion kept him from ever properly swinging his weapon at dangerous enemies. In the ensuing battle, Lin Chi, who dominated the direction of the battle, while pointing the sword at the opponent's neck, said that the ballerina's thinking was very wrong. However, this lady did not think so. Instead, she thought that all life forms in the world had been manipulated from the beginning by higher life forms. An understanding given by gibbering, the figure who controlled her from a distance. Just like any other puppet, this white-haired lady also seems to have strings on her back. Not just her. Even after the curtain opens, the audience watching the show is also unknowingly under the control of the ballerina. Realizing that the audience was now in a dangerous situation, Lin Chi cornered the opponent and said that the lady had gone completely mad. For Ballerina, since Lin Chi was the protagonist of the story, it was only fitting that his hands were covered in blood, which was his destiny. To bring Lin Chi to the brink of darkness, the ballerina here threatens that if Lin Chi doesn't kill her here, then the price is the lives of all the audience members in the room. This was in fact an attempt by gibbering, who was masterminding from a distance. From the options given by the opponent, the best choice for Lin Chi right now was to kill the ballerina. But if that were to happen, then Lin Chi would come under the fire of gibbering, who would make the MC his new puppet. When the ballerina draped the reins around the necks of the audience, it showed that Lin Chi no longer had much time to think. However, it turns out that the solution to this problem is quite easy, but it can only be done by the MC. Lin Chi cut the soul contract rope that had been controlling the ballerina, making her a freak who accepted the doctrine of gibbering. And that's how the main actor managed to become the king who ascended to the throne. The audience, who were now in the clear, gave a standing applause for the exciting show they had just witnessed. And that was the ending of the play's plot that night. Lin Chi, who exited the stage from the back, had heard a little boy asking his parents during the performance, who was the lady who appeared last time, and why did the new king kill her? Although there were holes in the plot, the parents said the story was fun anyway. On the way home, Lin Chi saw a lady with an all-green appearance who was dancing. The lady's dance was quite seductive. Well, apart from the dance, one thing Lin Chi knew was that the lady in front of him was a strong opponent from the Church of Ancient God that he had to face. At the theater, after regaining consciousness, the white-haired lady was confused as to why she was on this stage. She had lost her memory when she confronted Lin Chi, whom she was trying to trap. Meanwhile, gibbering felt very unfortunate that Lin Chi didn't fall into his trap. However, there were still many more tough obstacles that the Church of Ancient God would give Lin Chi next. We return to Chen Muye, who is still with Han Xiaoyun, along with Zhao Yun, who shows a video of Lin Chi eating at a noodle shop, informing him that Lin Chi's whereabouts have been found. At the same time, there was an explosion in the room, starting the fight that happened between the two. The planned ambush by the Church of Ancient God was carried out on New Year's Eve. Many of the civilians were out celebrating the new year. Some were still working as project workers, but some were holding it at home, like Lin Chi's aunt. The civilians had no idea that there was such a terrifying battle going on that night. All the members of Teams 136 were still doing their job against each member of the Church of Ancient God. During the course of the battle, Hong Ying continued to receive praise from Lu Liang, who thought that she was very sexy and hot, as the power she displayed emitted hot flames. Lu Liang continued to be cornered as his ability to manipulate thorny plants was unable to withstand Hong Ying's hot flames. Elsewhere, Wen Qimo, who was facing a masked man with only half a mask, was now using his illusion ability on the opponent. Feeling that he could no longer continue the fight, the opponent chose to surrender from the battle area. But unfortunately, he can't escape anywhere because the vice captain, Xiang Nan, has prepared a trap for the masked man. Along with that, Xiang Nan also informed the entire 136 team members that they were required to immediately settle the ongoing battles in their respective places. And then gather at Captain Chen Mu Ye's place, working together to face Han Xiaoyun, whose strength is above their captain. In the merry-go-round area, Xiaonan is now fighting against the old man, who uses a fan as his weapon. Apart from being a weapon, the fan is also a forbidden item. A 1,000-form fan that can transform into an attacking beast. To be equal against a stronger opponent, Xiaonan gets help from Leng Xuan, the sniper from a distance. Moving on to the Love Hotel, Tu Ming, Cao Yuan, and Shen Qingzhu, who were playing cards, were suddenly attacked when the room they were in suddenly exploded. Tu Ming, who was the next target, was attacked by flying chains, but he was protected by his magical necklace, and Shen Qingzhu, who played the role of protector, took the opponent's chain, used it as a weapon, and finished off the 3 enemies who were fighting while wearing helmets. Defeating the 3 people was easy for Shen Qingzhu, but the fight was still not over. Not long after, rain suddenly fell from the sky, and it was clearly not ordinary rain because the 3 could feel their mental strength decreasing. Along with that, from another direction came an English-speaking Indian man who unleashed a yellow lightning attack on Tu Ming and the others.
Rain never extinguishes.
While they fight with the Indian man, the scene moves to a tower, and we see Qing Yu again. The smart man is now with a white-furred mouse named Snowball. After taking a look at the city, he feels that this New Year's Eve is quite festive, and asks Snowball if they should give Lin Chi some help. Elsewhere, Lin Chi today had already fought against many enemies who had many diverse strengths, and this time had to fight again with a dangerous enemy, Lisa, the snake girl. Teleporting to the MC's side, Lisa almost landed an attack on his face, but Lin Chi was able to avoid it so that the opponent's dagger attack could be minimized. But from the attack just now, Lin Chi began to feel something strange. In addition to the surrounding area turning reddish-black, in a short time his body could not move, and the opponent took advantage of this situation to wrap around the MC's body using her snakes. Although in the end, Lin Chi was able to get free anyway, and the fight resumed with a clash of weapons occurring between the two. When the opponent teleported back and almost landed an attack on Lin Chi as before, this is when Lin Chi understood that the touch given by the opponent was the reason why his body could not be moved. Obviously, this was Lisa's Forbidden Ruin ability. Lin Chi was in quite a troublesome situation, because in addition to the opponent having a higher level of mental strength than him, Lisa was also a god agent. Before he took damage from the opponent, Lisa reused the same trick. Quickly, the MC pulled out Lao Zhao's gift sword and continued the fight using dual swords. In the middle of the battle, Lisa explained that her Forbidden Ruin was referred to as the 3 Gorgon brothers, symbolized by 3 Gorgon eyes of different colors, and now filled the perimeter of the battle area. The Gorgons in Greek mythology are said to have a signature skill. When one gazes intensely into their eyes, the person will turn to stone. But that did not apply to Lin Chi, who was blessed with the eyes of the Archangel Michael. But it still wasn't enough for him to defeat Lisa. Moreover, The opponent also had a lot of snakes coming out of the 3 Gorgon eyes there. The snakes were endless, as if they were regenerating. So Lin Chi thought she should focus on dismembering the mother snake to a larger size first. At that moment, when Lisa tried to stab Lin Chi again from behind, Snowball suddenly appeared to distract her, giving Lin Chi the opportunity to cut the mother snake. Lisa seemed to be very annoyed with Snowball. She chased after the animal as if it were a natural instinct for a snake to consider mice as its prey. And of course, Snowball came together with his owner, Qing Yu, who in this battle will join forces to face the opponent and work together like the incident in the previous school. Tu Ming and the others were facing off against the Indian man. The trio's condition was not good, as they could only defend against the opponent's yellow lightning attacks without being able to counterattack. The disparity in power levels was the main factor. While the enemy was at sea level, Tu Ming and the others were only at pond level. Well, there was no sign of victory for the 3 of them, but Shen Qingzhu was still trying to fight back. A similar incident also occurred at the location of Captain Chen Muya. He faced Han Xiaoyun, who looked so relaxed when the 2 clashed weapons, showing that the opponent was much tougher than him. The impact of the 2 brought them to a frozen river area with a thin ice wall as a foothold. Now Han Xiaoyun feels curious about Lin Chi. Is the dual god agent like him able to face the strong opponent Han Xiaoyun has chosen? Back to the main character, one Snowball was prey for the snake girl, but if there were many rats, it would make the opponent feel scared. Qing Yu said to Lin Chi, who was still slashing at the snakes, if they wanted to break the opponent's Forbidden Ruin attack, then they had to be able to find the 3 original eyes of the Gorgon among the many eyes there. Since it would take time to find them, here Qing Yu asked Lin Chi to deal with Lisa. And there was no need to provide protection to Qing Yu from the snakes that appeared later, since Qing Yu had learned a little kung fu from the TV show he watched. Going around for a while, Qing Yu managed to find a real purple eye, one of the 3 Gorgon brothers named Stheno, and Qing Yu stabbed it, making Lisa's eye also hurt. Realizing that Qing Yu was the one who had done all that, Lisa intended to target him. But she was immediately stopped by Lin Chi, who blocked her. Meanwhile, after coming face to face with the real eye, Qing Yu's body seemed to be petrified. And since he could no longer move, he used the ability of the rat Snowball to share his sight, an ability obtained from the experimental results of the core of the Nantu snake implanted into the body of the white-furred rat. Lisa, who immediately knew that Snowball was looking for the Gorgon's original eye, targeted it and made the rat the target of the black and purple snakes that appeared. This sight-sharing ability was unlimited, and not just for Qing Yu alone, but could also be passed on to others. And here Qing Yu made Snowball share his vision with Lin Chi and his divine eye to avoid the snakes, until he finally managed to find the second real eye, Uriali. Now, only the last eye remains to be deactivated by the 2. But it was unfortunate because in the middle of his search, Snowball was caught by Lisa, causing Qing Yu's effect of becoming a stone to accelerate. While Lin Chi's movement had to be blocked by the large snakes summoned by Lisa, forcing him to deal with it first. At the same time, Lisa said that all the fighting that happened that night was entirely caused by Lin Chi. And it was a pity, according to her, because after Lin Chi died in her hands, the deaths of the MC colleagues who were fighting elsewhere would also soon follow. And for starters, Lisa would devour Snowball first. Hearing what the enemy had said, Lin Chi used his divine eye to look from a distance. And sure enough, at that moment, the members of Team 136, as well as Lin Chi's friends, were facing each member of the Church of Ancient God. Even his dog, Blackie, was also fighting against an unknown man who was holding a gun to attack Lin Chi's house. Furious after seeing what was going on, Lin Chi tore apart the large snake that was blocking her and landed a direct attack on Lisa before she ate Snowball.
Medusa.
When Snowball was freed, Qing Yu managed to find the third real eye, the Medusa, and then shot it. Instantly, Qing Yu was released from the petrification effect. While destroying the snake's eye can break the opponent's forbidden ruin, the battle is still not over. After Lisa suffered a defeat, there will be a figure who rises from the remnants of evil, and that is the projection of Medusa. After destroying the forbidden ruin ability of the god figure, disaster will come, and this is the result. The Medusa's reappearance left Qing Yu petrified, and henceforth she would no longer be able to provide assistance to the MC, so the rest would be left to Lin Chi. Medusa said that Lin Chi's previous actions had offended a god like her, and the punishment for that was inevitable death. At that moment, Lin Chi's body began to emit different powers. The right side of his body was overwhelmed by the power of Nyx, the goddess of the night, and the other side was endowed with the power of the angel Michael. According to the MC, Medusa had made a mistake because she was the one who had dared to offend the gods. The cross slash that Lin Chi unleashed landed squarely on his opponent, shattering the Medusa's body projection and ending the fight that took place on the spot. After being released from the rock, Qing Yu said that Lin Chi was hiding a lot of things. He also asked if Lin Chi was going to the place where his captain was. Not answering the question, Lin Chi extended his hand to Qing Yu and thanked him for being willing to help. After a long time, the two men finally worked together again, and hopefully so on. But suddenly there was a terrifying sound of Lisa's body emitting a strange power and then possessing Lin Chi's body. It was the curse of the gods. At that moment, Lin Chi recalled the words of Merlin, who had said, if Lin Chi was now in a very dangerous vortex. Take the wrong step, then he will be destroyed, as well as his colleagues. And in the end, after returning to normal, Lin Chi did not suffer any physical injuries, but now Lin Chi couldn't feel the slightest bit of mental strength within himself at all, which meant Lin Chi was now just an ordinary human being. Short scene to the Love Hotel. Because the opponent that Tu Ming's side had to face was too strong, Shen Qingzhu simply couldn't do much. Before the situation gets worse, the head instructor of the training camp, Geng Yuan, appears. And from now on, he would take charge of the fighting at the venue. Looking at the battered Shen Qingzhu, it was the first time Geng Yuan had seen Shen Qingzhu in such a condition, because usually this boy always bragged about his strength during the training camp. When the opponent released a yellow lightning bolt towards Geng Yuan, he asked Shen Qingzhu not to worry, leave the Indian man to him. Meanwhile, Shen Qingzhu himself was asked to quickly go to the river area near the bridge, as he would play a big role in that place. It seems that just like his opponent, Geng Yuan also has the ability to manipulate yellow lightning, making it a true testament of who is stronger for the one with the same skills between the two. Geng Yuan told Tu Ming and Cao Yuan to pay close attention to the battle that would soon take place. Not only would it be an experience, but it would also be a valuable lesson for both of them. The scene moved to the river area with Captain Chen Muye falling underwater. In a semi-conscious state in the middle of his fight against Han Xiaoyun, his forbidden ruin that was almost active suddenly made him wake up, getting back up and continuing the fight that still seems one-sided. Han Xiaoyun said there would be no chance of victory for Chen Muye if he continued to fight without using his forbidden ruin. Well, that's obvious, but what if there were other forces interfering in the fight? For example, Hong Ying suddenly appeared and launched an attack when the captain was in a bad situation. It wasn't just Hong Ying who would be joining the battle, but all members of Team 136, who have now gathered after completing their respective tasks, and without lingering, the battle resumed. Facing the entire 136 team forced Han Xiaoyun to defend using his spear. Surviving the onslaught, they managed to create damage when Leng Xuan fired a rocket launcher at the opponent to distract Han Xiaoyun. Along with that, Jiangnan took Han Xiaoyun's body underwater, performing a suicide attack by detonating a bomb. For ordinary people, it would be called a suicide attack, but not for Jiangnan, who possessed a unique forbidden ruin power called Rebirth. The severe injuries he received during the fight would return to their original state, just like a while ago. But in reality, the damage done is still not enough to make the opponent completely fall. He got back up, and this time he would start the plan that had been prepared. He did not expect that there was an immortal in the 136 team, but then it would all be over for him. Flying into the air, Han Xiaoyun formed an ice ring that spun at high speed. He called it the Eye of the Storm. The cold wind around him would swirl with the Eye of the Storm, a large-scale attack that would allow him to create a terrible disaster. What Han Xiaoyun was doing now was just the beginning. Furthermore, when his preparations were complete and he unleashed the power of his forbidden ruins, then the cold storm winds of the night would roll up and tear apart large buildings with ease. A great force capable of razing half the city of Chang'an to the ground. In order to stop the plan being carried out by Han Xiaoyun, in the end Captain Chen had to use his true forbidden ruin power. Inside Chen Muye's consciousness, there are two foreign life forms. There is a figure with a form like the god of death, which we can call the guardian of immortality, who is guarding a chest in which there is another entity that must not be released to the outside world. When Chen Muye unlocks Forbidden Ruin, the Immortal Guardian will switch to the captain's side to leave the chest for a while, and to avoid the entity in the chest from coming out and taking the captain's full consciousness and bringing about another disaster. The captain was only allowed to use that power for about 30 seconds. That was why he had been holding back on using his Forbidden Ruin power numbered 34. The current situation of Han Xiaoyun's Eye of the Storm seal has almost formed. That's why the opponent here thinks that Chen Muye's action that just activated his Forbidden Ruin is really too late. Because even if he is defeated, there is still a great disaster that will level the city of Chang'an. Not long after the Eye of the Storm was ready, Han Xiaoyun unleashed the power of Forbidden Ruin number 79, Strong Wind Disaster, or Great Storm Disaster. The strong wind that came from a distance could exert pressure and blow away the townspeople. With not much time left, Captain Chen now had only one chance to subvert his opponent. But the captain is barely able to get close to Han Xiaoyun due to the pressure of the storm. It was during this crisis that a figure who was said by Geng Yuan to have a great role appeared. And it was Shen Qingzhu who showed up and snapped his fingers to activate the Void Space's Forbidden Ruin. In a fraction of a second, the catastrophic storm would vanish into thin air. Well, after all, the Eye of the Storm is formed from the wind, and it is this man's daily toy. All he needs to do is evacuate the Eye of the Storm into the void space, and then the big storm will disappear. Right after the storm disappeared, Chen Muye immediately resumed the Eternity/attack. The attack landed right on Han Xiaoyun's body and successfully knocked him down. Han Xiaoyun's hair was turning white. With his condition not allowing him to continue fighting, he said, a slash that was able to cut through eternity. After a long time, finally he saw it again. And he was also the one who had to receive that terrible slash. With that, the battle in the river area came to an end, and all the residents who had been freed from the windstorm could return to their normal activities. At Lin Chi's house, Blackie is seen taking home the trigger of his opponent's gun and giving it to his ignorant aunt. At the Love Hotel, the Indian man was also taken up by Geng Yuan, and Tuming was explaining that he wasn't doing anything at the hotel, just watching Ricardo Milos dance. In the river area, Han Xiaoyun, who looked like he could no longer stand, said that his former teammate and girlfriend, King, was still in the hands of the Church of Ancient God. And of course, that is the reason why Han Xiaoyun committed treason against Night Watcher. Chen Muye said not to worry, because there is already a strong team that is moving towards the enemy base to rescue her. And suddenly, the electricity in Chang'an City was completely cut off. This situation was again caused by the Church of Ancient God, who still hadn't stopped the action. Gibbering had previously used his puppets to destroy Lin Chi, but he was curious. What would happen if he used a curse? Would it make Lin Chi destroyed? While the ant was looking for a match to light a candle, Lin Chi was seen galloping towards his house. If you remember what Captain Chen said earlier, Lin Chi's house had been installed with an invisible barrier, and the barrier would activate when a person with the Forbidden Ruin ability approached. But what would happen if the person who approached Lin Chi's house was an ordinary person? Of course, the barrier would be meaningless. And as it turns out, the project workers who worked until night on New Year's Day that we saw earlier were members of the Church of Ancient God who didn't possess Forbidden Ruin. They are now moving towards Lin Chi's house and intend to take the ant hostage as they have done many times before, to be able to control the MC. After running so hard that he was exhausted, Lin Chi was finally able to catch up to the porters who were walking towards his house. No forbidden ruins, no mental strength, and relying solely on physical strength and pure swordsmanship. That was his battle that happened this time. Lin Chi faced 9 project workers who played a gang. This is where we can see how determined Lin Chi is to protect his small family. Even though he was already a blur, he got back up, beating up the construction workers with what was left of his strength. Auntie, who was feeling restless that night, tried to call Lin Chi to ask how he was doing, but because the MC was in the middle of a battle, he couldn't answer the call, making his aunt feel even more uneasy. After successfully subverting most of the opponents, there was now only one enemy left that he had to face, the bald man with a wound on his face. Using his sword, Lin Chi was also able to corner that one opponent. But unexpectedly, when cornered, the bald man chose to blow himself up. When Auntie tried to call back, the call was finally picked up. Of course, Lin Chi managed to escape his opponent's final blast. Lin Chi said that he had just finished his business. That's why he didn't have time to pick up Auntie's call, so they could call now. In addition to exchanging news, the aunt also said that on New Year's Eve, she had cooked all the food Lin Chi liked. Just in case Lin Chi went home suddenly, the aunt's words made Lin Chi want to go home even more. When the call was transferred to Yang Jin while looking out of the house, he asked where brother was. If Lin Chi felt really tired, he could also go back home. Well, of course, Lin Chi really wanted to go back home, but if he went back home now, his family would get into even more trouble. While on the phone with his aunt, The magic device given by Merlin suddenly left Lin Chi's body and flew into the air. As the city's electricity came back on, Lin Chi's mental strength was restored, and the ceiling that night was decorated with many New Year's fireworks. While watching the fireworks, Chen Mu-ye, who received a message from Lin Chi, asked him to eat because he was starving. On the other hand, Qing Yu celebrated the New Year with Snowball. Tu Ming and Cao Yuan, who got a selfie with Geng Yuan, who looked forced to take a photo. And there was also Han Xiaoyun's girlfriend, who was rescued. In the Asylum of the Gods, the New Year was also celebrated, although the goddess Nyx and Merlin were not too interested, but Li Yifei looked happy. And that's the ending of Slay the Gods Season 1. And for the next season, whether the same studio continues or not, we still don't know, guys. But for sure, thank you and bye.